Anyways, you can cut that out because that doesn't belong anywhere. I just thought of it because this is kind of convoluted. Why did I think of it?
I have come on a mission of gravest consequence. For I am the Watcher, member of an ancient race far older than man. But though our power is great, we are pledged only to watch, never to interfere. But now mankind faces the greatest danger it has ever known. The danger of
the Watchers of Earth. 199,999.
Welcome to the Watchers of Earth 199,999. I am your host, Andrew, and finally meeting me in person and not through a mirror is my co-host, Seth.
We're still digital.
Our third co-host, Joe, couldn't be here today because we wouldn't let him out of his sarcophagus in our mind.
I don't know why. The way you kind of said sarcophagus, I was expecting like a pun somewhere, and then you just said sarcophagus, and then you added the in the mind, and I was like, I don't know how to feel about this.
Enough to interrupt and complain.
Yep, always.
Our fourth co-host, Uatu, is here, but is sworn only to watch and never interfere.
Today we watched something written by Alex Minahan, Peter Cameron, Sabir Pirzada, directed by Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead. It was episode 4, season 1 of Moon Knight, called The Tomb, in which Mark and Steven must find balance to the Force as supernatural threats ahead look to stop them. I added the Force bit because I thought it would reference Star Wars and it would be funny. Ha 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 ha. Like, subscribe.
You like how when I didn't make a joke, you pointed out how I didn't make a joke and you didn't like it. And then you did make a joke and I did a forced laugh for you, my friend.
That's because I pointed it out. You didn't know it was a joke at first. Or you thought it was bad. Either way.
It was the second one.
So Andrew, in a sentence or less, what did you think?
I think this show has lost me. But when I started, I was thinking the same thing I said about last episode, where I'm like, I don't think it's bad. I just don't think I like it. I think this is bad. But I think this episode, if it was not an episode of this show, and instead was just like Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, the TV show, I think the first chunk of this is not horrible. I just don't care at this point. I don't care. I don't care about anything going on, and I could not bring myself to care. And then at the end, when it like jumps to something different, I was like, this should have been its own. I always hate when it's like, oh, the crazy person might actually be like the superhero or the wizard or whatever might actually be crazy, and the whole show's in their brain. It's like, it's not. Let's not, like, don't waste my time. We all know that this is all just like a ruse or something.
Didn't they already do that with WandaVision?
I think they did. But, like, it's a waste of time, but it's also, like, it's just a thing at the end of this episode. When he got shot, I was like, is this over? This episode felt so long. And I paused it, and I was like, there's still 16 fucking minutes left. And sure, 10 minutes of that is the goddamn end credits going on for 4 years. But there was still so much left, and it was just to throw in this idea because they didn't think, like, they don't, this is full of, like, ideas, and they're all half-baked. And this is the half-baked DS episode of this entire series. What did you think?
I think we are so in sync, we need to drink. So this is where I landed after the last few episodes we did. I don't know if I'll go as far as you and say this is a bad episode, but I think at the end of the day, it's probably where we have the same opinion of it.
I guess when I say bad, it's poorly constructed. I think it's very, very poorly constructed.
Well, and that's what I was saying, where I think at the end of the day, we probably are in agreement, just saying different words on that. Because I think this was fine. I just think as a midnight episode, it sucked. Like you said, like, I don't think this is Marvel pessimism, like I thought in a previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is legitimately just like, I do not care about any plot point in Moon Knight. The first half of this episode, one of my talking points for our show was going to be like, I think I'm stupid because I feel like I'm either missing something or there's really just nothing here.
Okay, we're going to just cut here to make it easy. Here's my cut. Okay, I was going to say this to you. I couldn't tell if I just didn't care or if the show was poorly explaining itself. I had no fucking clue what was going on in that tomb.
I don't know what's going on in the entire show. Like, I know they're looking for Amit, but I don't know why. I don't know why.
The whole time I was thinking, like, Amit's sealed and they got to find the tomb, but, like, the tomb is actually, like, the pyramid for Alexander the Great, but he was the voice of Amit or something. And so the little statue that is, we see at the beginning of this episode that all the statues are put in a room together. But this one isn't? It's shoved down Alexander the Great's throat? Fucking why?
No, that's the prison planet, right? Because that's where they put Khonshu in the prison.
That's what I'm saying. They're all stuck in a room because they're all imprisoned. And I was thinking, like, maybe Amit was imprisoned a different way, but it's not. We see that it's got the same little stupid statue that Khonshu was turned into, but this one was shoved in a mummified Alexander the Great's throat. Why? Why isn't it in the room with everyone else?
Was Amit imprisoned?
Yes, that's the whole point. They were saying Amit's imprisoned and they gotta free her from her tomb or whatever.
I thought she was just, like, in a tomb. But you make sense.
I mean, maybe not. I don't know. When they were wandering around and he was talking about how, like, this place is shaped like an eye, and I didn't know, I couldn't figure out what was going on there.
Yeah, that one he had to think about, because that was, like, it told him which way to go, I guess. But I
couldn't tell what was happening when he was like, this is shaped like an eye. And I was like, what, the tomb is shaped like an eye? Like the hallways? When did you figure this out? We didn't see enough of it. Like, you guys entered and then turned a corner and you were in this room, as far as I recall. Like, I just think I was so confused as to everything. And I will freely admit that there's a possibility, a high possibility
that we're stupid.
I'm not paying attention. I'm stupid. Like, I was not caring. So, like, but I feel like this shouldn't be this hard to follow. But I was so confused as to what was going on. And it didn't help. Like, it started off on the wrong foot with me. I guess after they did the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, it was filmed by a director, watch us spin the camera 180 degrees thing where they put Khonshu in the room for no fucking reason, just to remind us that he's there, even though there's a previously on at the beginning.
I like, just a quick aside, I like how they put him there. And you think that the episode would be about going to that location and retrieving him?
Nope.
But it's not. And so, kind of like with the last, like, cold opening bit, I don't know why that's there. Because like you said, I know Khonshu is imprisoned.
There's a previously on before it.
But I don't know why I needed to see him, like, why do I need to know where exactly he is? Or am I supposed to, like, sit there and be like, oh my gosh, the Egyptian gods have so many imprisoned gods?
And again, all it does is draw attention to the fact that Amit is imprisoned differently for some reason. If Amit is actually in prison, which I'm pretty sure
I don't remember.
She is. But you know what else is in the previously on? It shows Mark strapped to his bed so that, it's a callback when he falls out of the chair and he's strapped to it. Fuck this. Fuck you. It's just so, I don't know. Anyway, at the beginning when the Jeep guys come and they got the turret and they're like,
I hate it,
shooting at him, it's a complete waste of time. There's no point to any of that. And there's also like a weird cut where it shows all the bullets. And I was like, what was that? Is she going to like do something, make those blow up or something? And she does. But like, I felt like there was a lot of weird, awkward, like shots and camera work in this.
I didn't understand, like, so she runs away, but she can't grab Moon Knight, and then the Jeep guys just show up and they're like, it looks like he's dead. And they're not, like, doing anything with him. I don't think they're picking him up or anything. They're not, like...
They're just, like, staring at him.
They're just staring at him.
The idea is they might, like, shoot him to make sure he's dead or something, but then she does the flare.
She does the Jurassic Park flare, and I'm like, why... They didn't look like they were going to be aggressive towards this dead guy. And again, I have no idea. Like we said before, Haro can kind of just be wherever, whenever. And so I don't understand, like, these mercenaries. Are they hunting these people down?
It is literally a scene just to kill time.
It's just to have, like, a cold open and to have...
something exciting's happening.
Well, and the dumb... I know it's beating a dead horse, but the dumb MCU tension dispersion where she, like, blows up the Jeep and then the camera pans over and Moon Knight's in the background and she, like, looks over and instead of being like, oh, thank God you're alive. Remember earlier, like 2 minutes ago when I found you? And I was like, no, Mark, stay with me. And then I tried to save you, but now you're alive and I just killed a bunch of people. Now I can be like, what?
I don't know. And then they go to the tomb. I still find Steven completely insufferable.
I am a little more on your side. I think they're both... I hate this, like, petty bullshit from both of them.
I do too. And again, like everything else, like this is full of like wanting to do stuff without earning any of it. Like at the end when they like meet in their mindscape and hug, I was like, this isn't earned. They fucking hate each other.
All they do is sit there and they're just like, shut up.
And I don't know. The body. What do you like, my wife? I'm gonna make you punch yourself.
I don't have dissociative identity disorder or whatever it is. I don't know how any of it works. I don't want to be callous and talk about something I don't understand, but I just hate, as a piece of media, I hate this character with the ID. I hate him. I hate how petty he is. I hate how literally every scene is just Steven being like, shut up, Mark, this is my pie now. And then Mark getting it and being like, shut up, Steven, this is my pie now. And I'm just like, just work together.
And then there again, Steven knows what's going on. He knows what's at risk, and he's still like participating in the whole thing. But then when he's with Layla and Layla's like, hey, get Mark, we're going to need him. He's like, no, we had an agreement that once the Conchu stuff was done, he'd let me have the body back. And Mark doesn't go, okay, but like the Conchu stuff, like the deal.
These are extenuating circumstances. Like
he's just like, yeah, we did make that deal, but I'm not doing it right now. This is different because of things. It's like they're both annoying, but Steven is worse. Like Mark, I don't like Mark either, but I would rather watch Mark than Steven because Steven, one, I hate his accent because I think, again, I don't know. I don't talk to a lot of people with that accent. It sounds so fake to me.
I guess
for all I know, Oscar Isaacs really has that accent. I don't think he does, but maybe he does.
It sounds fine to me. Actually, this was like the first episode that I kind of hit me where I was like, I think Oscar Isaac does a good job at being two people.
I agree with that. I do think they are two different people in as much as two different characters played by the same actor can really be. I just think Steven is annoying. I think his accent sounds fake. It might just be me. Maybe his accent's just over the top for me. I don't know.
I think the problem with Steven is that he doesn't have... I mean, maybe I'm kind of reneging on what I said last episode, but I agree that Mark advances the plot because he punches things. But Mark's competent. We are in a situation where people need to be punched. And the show kind of dances with these history, archaeological stuff. But I think the writers find that boring or something, and so they don't want to really dig into it. But that feels like what Steven's there for. But since the show doesn't really want to do anything with that, Steven just kind of feels wasted and incompetent.
I also don't really understand Steven. I don't know if I said this early on because I figured like, I'm sure we'll get more answers. And now we're almost to the end. We're past the halfway point. We haven't gotten any answers. Although I have a little idea. I don't really understand Steven. He is just a gift shop guy at a museum. But he knows he's not just a nerd who knows a lot of stuff. Like, I guess you can know a lot of stuff for a field you're not in because you're really interested in it. But like, he seems to be an actual expert, like full on, like he may as well be an archaeologist. And I think the show kind of wants to forget because I honestly think the whole thing about him being a gift shop guy is just so that it's funnier. Like, I think it's there for the joke. And honestly, I think if there's an answer, I think it probably has something to do. When Hera was talking about Layla's dad,
which we'll get to because that's stupid.
Yeah. But he's like, Mark remembers every person
he's ever killed.
That he's ever killed. And he's like, especially your father, or especially the archaeologist.
And like by name.
With a scarf. And I was like, maybe this personality has something to do with her dad. Like it's part of like remembering him. He takes like on their soul. And maybe that's his other personalities are like people he killed, or at least people that he feels remorse for killing or something. Maybe not. I may be grasping for straws, but I'm just trying to like figure out like why Steven, who just is just like some schmuck who works at a museum gift shop and can't get a job as a guide because they point out that he's tried to get this job before. Granted, it could just be his boss hates him. But it doesn't matter because she's not a character. But I just don't understand. He seems to be a full-blown expert.
It's weird because I agree with you that I think it's just like he has a hyperfixation on Egyptian mythology or like whatever, ancient Egypt. And for whatever reason, maybe he doesn't interview well, maybe his boss hates him, whatever. Story-wise, I think it's because like Mark's the badass. They need Steven to be the schmuck.
I agree with that, but again, like it goes back to why not make him just an archaeologist or an expert or like fuck, you could have like a lot of the same stuff by just making him a college professor.
Because a college professor is somebody. Like
I guess that's true.
This isn't me like arguing with you. This is me arguing for the show's sake. Like the show wants him to be the schmuck, and a gift shop person is a schmuck. No offense, gift shop people.
I mean, you're right there. I'll give you that.
But I agree that there's no payoff for any. Like, it doesn't mesh.
It seems to be just there for the joke. They want him to be like he has to be a nobody that gets thrust into this, I guess. But like, it also seems to be he's a nobody for the joke. For the joke where they pan around and be like, put on your name tag and work in the gift shop.
I think it also doesn't help here, where he is starting to do something, and he is like in the tomb, and he's doing the thing where he says, "I know these things," but that's not satisfying because we don't see Steven interact in a way that we saw him at the very beginning of the show. We see him interact where the show is just like,
okay, now draw an Eye of Horus on the sarcophagus.
And he does.
You're like, more of an Egypt guy than me. Speaking of the Eye of Horus, is that true about how like the eyebrow represents the mind and the one thing represents the nose and the other one is the tongue? And
I don't know. I'm just a gift shop guy. I really don't know.
That felt made up to me, but
it
I
felt
don't
made
know.
up to me, but I don't know enough to dispute it. And also when they're sitting there and they're just like, the avatar is the mouth. And I was like, or the avatar is the eyes. What do you say? Like, what was so special about the mouth? I felt like you could argue that the avatar Khonshu sees through Mark.
I don't think that's true. I would argue against that. Like, for the sake of, I guess, just
Devil's advocate or
counterpointing
whatever.
you, Khonshu is still able to see the world. Nothing is preventing him from being able to see the world. He's still out and about. I mean, not right now because he's a
But nothing
statue,
is
but
keeping, I mean...
he can't speak to people, but he could possess Mark and speak. But in the end, he's also like Marcus's hands too. So like
That's
mouth,
what I mean, like...
I think it was mostly the contention of like, he's not the eyes or the ears because he does that on his own, but he can't physically or verbally interact with the world without an avatar.
That's fair, and I guess I just see, like, the whole thing is kind of... The avatar puts him into the physical world on all fronts. Yes, Khonshu or Amit can see and hear, and I don't know what the other one was, think. But without an avatar, he is stuck in this kind of limbo. And so to me, it didn't feel like the mouth was this, like, clear-cut answer.
Oh, I agree. The mouth is not the clear-cut answer.
I also didn't like how, and we're jumping everywhere, and I think this is a tangent to a tangent to a tangent, but here's another tangent. I didn't like how Steven gets to Amit's tomb first, but Haro has a stupid scarab compass, and they got there early. Why did they not find it first? And also...
I guess because Steven... I mean, this isn't really an answer so much as just like an explanation, I guess. Steve went through that rafter thing.
But why didn't the scarab tell... I mean, I guess it just points as the crow points.
What's-her-face and Steven are still able to get there. Or not Steven, Harrow. Layla and Harrow are still able to get there. So it's not like his way is really any...
The only way?
It's all just like nonsense. Like, I agree with you. It doesn't... I don't know what's up with the mummy that's like running around and disemboweling people. What was up with that? It was just there for... It's like the thing at the beginning with the Jeep. It's just there for like a fun little action bit.
It's like a neat idea, but it doesn't accomplish anything. I liked the like clicking and stuff.
But like...
None of it matters.
Like I said, in the end, if this was, instead of Moon Knight, if this was, like I said, Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, the TV series, like, yeah, like, that kind of stuff's fun. Like, I was kind of, like, having fun with some of this, like, the mummy lurking around in the shadows. When it grabbed Layla, I thought was kind of cool. It was kind of stupid when she just, like, broke free. I kind of liked when she broke free and grabbed her again, then she broke free a third time, and then it grabbed her, and I was like, all right, I'm done with this.
I liked the clicking. I liked hearing shots in the background.
I liked when it's, like, you could see it, like, lurking on the other side of the wall, and then it was, like, sticking its hand through, trying to get her. That stuff's all fun. It's just like, that's not the show I'm here for. I'm here to watch Moon Knight the superhero. And like, again, if Moon Knight the superhero instead wants to be Moon Knight the superpowered archaeologist adventurer man, like superpower Indiana Jones, I'm fine with that too. But that's not what the show has been until now. Like, it's just like throwing a bunch of stuff. Each episode feels like a different show. We're 4 episodes in, and each episode has felt like something different, and not in a good way, in a scattered way.
Like, this was fun to watch, like a Tomb Raider Uncharted-y story. But in Moon Knight as a whole, like we said at the beginning, I just don't care. Like, I don't really care about Layla. I don't care about Mark. I don't care about Steven. I don't care about Haro. I don't care about Khonshu. I don't care about Amit. Like, was this a fun, like you said, Brendan Fraser-esque mummy? Little Twilight Zone 40 minutes? Yeah. But outside of that, it's just like, I don't care. I didn't get anything from it. I hated when they show up at the tomb and Layla's just like, they already inside. We have to go a different way. And then they just go in the same way, I guess. And again, Haro can't find it even though he's been there forever. And he can go wherever he wants, whenever. I don't know.
And even like at the end with the like mental asylum thing in his mind crap that was going on. Like, that stuff's kind of fun, but it's the back end of, it's like the back quarter of this hour-long episode that was already something different.
I did the same thing you did where I thought, okay, he got shot, and scene. And it's like, oh my god, no.
And it kept going, like, it's not doing anything novel, but like, that also is like a fine idea of like a superhero, or at least a like, there's been a million things of like, oh, I'm like, the world is more interesting than everyone thinks it is. And then there's something where it's like, you're actually crazy. It's not a novel idea. It's overdone. I'm sick of it. Like, I actually find that stuff annoying because it's wasting my time. I'm not fooled. No one watching it is fooled. And they know that no one's fooled, but it's just there to be like a fun thing. But like, if instead, like, what is the show? There's a show about Xavier's son.
Oh, I know what you're talking. Legion.
Legion does that. But that's the whole show. And the show isn't necessarily like, I don't remember, I only watched the first season. I think there is a bit of like, does he really have powers or not? And I think the answer is yes, but there's more going on in the whole like psychiatric ward thing. There's more going on in there. and it's utilizing that for something else. And this, it's just like a thing where it's like, he's crazy. Here's an episode where he's in a psych ward. But like, if instead, again, if Moon Knight was the Indiana Jones adventure show, I'm kind of on board with that idea. If Moon Knight was the show where, you know, it is scattered because the entire show takes place, like, part of the show is like him in a psych ward and everyone being like, none of this is real. But then like you get flashes of him being a superhero, you get flashes of him being a mercenary, you get flashes of him being an adventurer, you get flashes of him being an archaeologist. And it's like, which one of these is real? What are any of them real? Which some of the comics have done. That's kind of what the Jeff Lemire run does a lot of, where there's like multiple things going on and you're never really certain which one's real. And granted, you're in a superhero book, so you're like, the superhero thing's probably real, but like what things he's battling are necessarily the real things. Like is he actually in a psych ward because he is, you know, he does have psychiatric problems, or like is this all a ruse from a god, or did he finally snap, or like that all stuff is fine. That's not what the show is. It's just like throwing out ideas. And like by the end, when that god shows up, it seems like maybe this is like their way to, maybe they died and like this is where everybody meets before death and they're about to get their hearts weighed by the Egyptian gods or whatever. But because there's two of them, they have their own lives. They each like, they have their own soul or something. That might be it. I don't know. I don't really care. But like, I just don't know.
Here's where I'm at with Moon Knight. I don't care. I think it's fine. I think this episode was fun enough as a, like I said, little Brendan Fraser mummy, Indiana Jones, Uncharted thing. The psych ward stuff, I agree with you. I am also like, whatever, I'll watch a psych ward episode. Like, I don't care about anything, but there's also a part of me that's just like, they could do cool things with a psych ward episode. Like, I'm not buying into any of it.
I mean, there's only 2 episodes left. If it's 6 episodes, there's only 2 episodes left. So it's not even like the next episode is going to be a psych ward episode.
Part of the
reason why the psych ward thing, I don't think so. Part of the reason why I think the psych ward is awkwardly tacked onto the back half of this episode is because it's only going to be maybe the opening 15 minutes of the next episode.
I actually...
And then we cut back and they get out.
You were wrong
like,
this week.
We gotta save Khonshu.
Or you were wrong last week, and I think you're going to be wrong next week. I think next...
I was partially right. I did say that they would get mortally wounded in this episode.
Fair.
But I was wrong about saying this episode would be a flashback.
I think next episode's going to be a psych ward episode, and then at the end they rescue Khonshu, and then they mirror match fight in the 6th episode, Mr. Evil. But either way, I won't care. I don't mind the psych ward bit. I didn't care for the stinger at the end with Towerette. I just don't care. When it started off and I was just like, hey, it's Ethan Hawke, but he's like not Mr. Evil yet, but he's still kind of it. Like, I'm gonna kill myself. I liked kind of being like, hey, I know that thing. Like seeing things I recognize, and it was fun to watch Oscar Isaac just kind of freak out at Ethan Hawke. And again, I think the superhero stuff, it's all choreographed. Like, I don't disagree there.
I just thought it was all boring. I did like when it like opened up and it was like a 90s TV serial
it was 4
thing.
3 and stuff.
I thought that was kind of fun, and I thought that was going to be Ethan Hawke's flashback to how he met Khonshu, and then it wasn't. And then I was like, why is it filmed like it's an old TV show? And then I was like, are they watching a TV show? But he was just shot, so that can't be it. And it turns out it was just a movie, and it's like, oh, it's Stephen Grant is the personality in this movie, but it's like, I don't know, is that a real movie that he watched and he made a personality up around
That's
it?
What makes
or
it
is
so
that
exciting.
just like it's just all stupid nothing.
I agree. I agree, but I don't know. I don't agree, I guess. It was when Oscar Isaac freaks out and he's like, you shot me. I was like, okay, this could be cool. It's a neat idea. Like with a lot of this stuff.
I just find that so boring. When he finds Steven in the sarcophagus and he's like, what's the last thing you remember? And he's like,
yeah, that's stupid. I don't care
Ethan
about
Hawke
that.
shot me. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, this isn't a revelation. It happened literally like 12 seconds ago.
Yeah, no, I
agree this isn't
with that.
like the next episode where it's like, oh my gosh, everything's different. Or like halfway through the season, like he gets shot and then we cut to a completely different show for 2 episodes. And then at the end of the 2nd episode after that, this happens and they're like, wait, what? It was 30 seconds ago. You got shot.
I liked the scene with Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke in the psych ward. Every other part of the psych ward, I could not care less.
You know, scene with Ethan Hawke, I didn't like, well, that scene, but I also really didn't like, going back to the thing you brought up earlier, his scene with Layla, where he's like, I'm going to tell you about your dad as you're running away. And she's like, what? I'm going to walk back into the room very slowly and listen to what you have to say and then get mad at Mark so that we can have a scene where I get mad at Mark.
I hated all of that. I didn't understand why. One, Mark's a mercenary and he knows everybody he killed. And I understand that like her father was a prominent figure, but the guy's a mercenary and has killed 1 million people. It's just part of his job. I don't know. Why was that? Like, and I guess it doesn't help that I don't understand. I guess he felt he didn't want to kill the guy and he felt bad about it. So then he like met Layla to like atone for his sins and then fell for her. And I don't know. It's just like.
But it's also like, it's the same thing as like Steven being like, give me back the body. I'm going to derail the show. Like, Layla knows what's going on. At least with Steven before, when I was complaining about Steven, it was at least like indirect. Like, they're not actively like in the middle of, I mean, he's in the middle of fighting, but like when Steven's like, I'm going to get on the airplane and fly back, and they get in the cab, and I'm like, you know what you're here for, but it's also like, you're not like immediately in anything. And I can see Steven, I guess, like being like, I'm a coward, so I'm going to leave. And then in this episode, he's like, yeah, let's go on an adventure. I don't fucking care anymore. We got to move the plot along. But like when Layla's in there and Mark's like, we got to go. And she's like, no, tell me about my daddy. And I was like, no, we got to go. Harrow's coming, and they have guns, and they just found like the very important thing that you guys came here for. Remember when the guys were shooting at you before with a Jeep because you were trying to get to this thing? They're in the building with you, and they're not far away because Ethan Hawke was on the other side of the little pit that you were in. They remember when you threw that flare down there to show how deep it was, as if we couldn't just tell that because it was dark, it was deep. And you just wasted a flare. But like when she's just like, tell me about my daddy. And I was like, no, we can wait. Mark said he'll tell you afterwards. And even if he's lying, I don't care. You can yell at him then. Like, now's not the time for this. Because that's why he gets shot, is because she's throwing the tantrum and they stand in there for,
and then he's like,
3
run.
minutes.
And she's like, okay, now I'll run.
So stupid.
I want to talk about the pit, the Sarlacc pit. So, whatever. Throwing the flare in a pit is classic. Whatever.
But when the mummy fell in, you heard him land 2 seconds later?
I didn't like how when the mummy flew in, you heard him land 2 seconds later, and she just crawls out. And I was thinking, why not just let her... I know it's because it's like a fun action beat, I guess. Why not just have her throw the mummy over? Having her go over with him is so stupid to me.
It's because you gotta go, what's gonna happen to Layla? But like, my problem with that is not just, like, I agree with you, but it's also the fact that, like, she got grabbed by the mummy, and I was like, oh, Layla got grabbed. She's in danger. And then she, like, breaks free and then gets grabbed by the mummy again. And I was like, oh, did they show her break free and get grabbed again because maybe she's actually dead, or at least, like, something's going to happen to her? But then she breaks free a third time, and I was like, okay, so you were just, like, jerking my chain. And then when they toss her off the end with the mummy, and I was just like, this is so stupid. Like,
the pit is
why
not
bother?
The part that's where the tension is coming from. It is earlier when she's kind of...
crossing it.
When she's crossing it, there's the tension. But when she crosses it, pit is no longer tension, Mummy Man is. And I don't need both Mummy Man and pit tension. I'm fine with just Mummy Man tension. And it's just a cheap ruse that's not worth it.
Like I said, I think this show is very poor. Like this show, but this episode specifically is very poorly constructed. It's full of just like half measures and like ideas that no one really thought about how everything around it affects that idea.
Speaking of things that aren't #earned, can we talk about the kiss?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was just like a thing that happened, and then Mark gets mad and punches Steven in the face with his own fist. That's stupid, but then it doesn't matter after that, except that Steven just keeps staring at her. But then it's like the scene after he stares at her a whole bunch, and it's really gross and uncomfortable, and then he never bothers again, and then Mark has the body, and who cares anymore?
But Steven never really ogles Layla, and there's never any romantic interest or anything, and I can understand Layla's side of kissing Steven. But Steven does not kiss Layla. That shouldn't happen. And I don't know why he did, because nothing leading up to that point made it seem... Like, I understand that high adrenaline situations make you do stuff you don't really think about or whatever, but it just felt... It made me feel gross about Steven. Mm-hmm. It was not a good look for him, for me.
I mean, I already didn't like Steven, so...
Yeah, but it was just something that... I really hated that moment. And it wasn't earned. It wasn't... Even when they're in the Jeep going to the place... And he's talking to her, and I guess that's supposed to lead up to the kiss, but there's nothing really there. I don't know. It was dumb.
It was dumb.
Oh my gosh. It was. What else we got?
I think that's kind of it.
Yeah, I think that is too.
I don't really think there's much else. Most of, anything else I can really think of, it's all a bunch of nothing. Like, this episode had a lot of, little things going on, and none of it matters. None of it goes anywhere. It's all just kind of like crap. Oh, wow. So, Seth, give me 2 put-ups and a put-down.
My first put-up is going to be when they're in the human sacrifice chamber and the mummy man's there. I liked that. I think that was some good tension. Mark was upstairs and Layla was downstairs, and when the mummy man crawls on the bottom side of the rafter thing, the platform that Mark's on, or that Steven's on, that was cool. But I liked a lot of that stuff there. Also, we didn't mention it, and this isn't this is kind of tangentially part of my put up, but I like how Moon Knight wasn't in this.
Yeah, that was another thing I was wrong on. I thought for certain they wouldn't go an entire episode without the suit, and they did. Although he was a little action figure that was a not movie accurate action figure or MCU accurate action.
You looked
figure.
at it?
I could see it. It was more of the like comic costume. It was more white without the mummy wrappings. He had the bands on his arms that he usually does.
I thought
in
I saw the
comics.
mummy wrappings, but I was like reading.
He might have had the
I was
mummy,
reading a
but
book
like,
during this. It doesn't matter.
you said that you were reading a book during this, and I don't know if that was honest or not.
That was not honest.
Okay, it's hard to tell.
My second put up is going to be fuck it. The scene after they are in the sacrifice chamber when she fights the mummy man. I don't know. I like that. All the stuff that
What was your first put up again? You derailed it with your
my
little
first
story. And I
okay,
forgot.
so you don't have to deal with editing all that crap, but you'll forget and you'll edit it and then I'll do this and you'll be like, God damn it. My first put up is when they're in the human sacrifice chamber and the mummy man is crawling up the stuff and Steven's upstairs and Layla's downstairs, and I thought there was decent tension there. I like the little echolocation clicks. Doesn't make any sense, but it's a cool little feature. I think there was some good tension there. And especially since we didn't have Moon Knight available to us, we're dealt the hand we were dealt, and it worked out well. My second put up is stupid because it's going to be literally the continuation of that scene when Layla is crossing the pit and fighting the mummy man. And while I think there's stupid stuff in there, like when she falls over the pit, but that should probably be one put up. I just don't know what my second put up is. When Steven got shot, or when Mark got shot, I don't know. I didn't think they'd do that. And so like it was, not that I thought he was dead, but it was kind of like, hey, it was reminiscent of the spears in the last episode, where I thought, our hero is losing. This is nice. My put down is going to be that Steven's a smart one, but the show doesn't want to deal with him. So they don't. And so he just feels wasted. And I would like to see a little bit of archaeological detective hunting, but the show doesn't care. So we don't. And so it just makes all his stuff like, it's an Eye of Horus, and we'll spend 2 minutes on it because nobody cares. I was like, I kind of do. I would like to know why you think that, how you found out this.
My first put up is going to be, I like the bit where Layla gets grabbed by the mummy and he pulls her into the dark and then she breaks free and he grabs her again. I didn't like it when it happened the
Is
third
that your put
time?
down? Is your first put up when she gets grabbed by the mummy and then escapes, and then your second put up was when she escapes again from the mummy, and then your put down is when she escapes the third time?
Well, that was going to be my joke until you did it.
You can cut me out.
Nope, that's fine. But no, I liked when she got grabbed by the mummy. I was like, ooh, spooky.
Ooh,
And it felt like a Raimi shot where it's like static in the middle, and she just gets like pulled away from the camera, and then she breaks free and runs towards the camera, and it grabs her again. I was like, ooh, I like.
I
this.
knew
But
the
then she breaks
hand was coming
free.
when she was traversing the pit, and I was sitting there watching, going, "Okay, the mummy's gonna spook her." But I was thrown. I didn't jump, and it was kind of a jump scary thing. But I was a little bit surprised that she was grabbed, and then the second one, yeah, was good.
My second put up, I mean, to be honest, I didn't really like much else in this episode. I guess I'll echo you and say I liked the bit where the mummy was like, it came in and was like disemboweling that dude, and then it like was kind of stalking Layla and climbed up on the rafters. Like, that was fun.
If we want a different thing, I probably could have said, I know you didn't like it, but I liked the scene with him and Ethan Hawke in the psych ward.
So my put down is going to be a joint put down, and it's both scenes with Ethan Hawke and someone else. I think I hated the scene with him and Layla more just because it's so stupid when someone's like, I need to get away from this situation because important things are happening. And then the character goes, oh, but don't you want to know this thing about your pastor, your friend, or your dad, or your mom, or the person you're working for? They got a dark truth that they don't want you to know. And then the person goes, yes, villain that I shouldn't trust, even though you are telling the truth, but I wouldn't know that because you're a villain I shouldn't trust. Please tell me more of this information so that I can get mad at the other person when the most inconvenient opportunity for us, but convenient for you, moment arises.
Yes.
Please tell me. I fucking hate that shit. And it's so stupid in this when she's like already down and gone the corner, and then she slowly walks back in and she's like, tell me about my daddy. And then she cries and he tells her all this information. And then she storms off and yells at Mark. Fuck that. But second minor put down is the scene where Mark and Harrow are talking. Like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. It just felt like it was wasting my time. I knew it wasn't real. So like the whole thing where he's like, you shot me. And then he's like, I know what you're going through. Which also, I think there's something where you can't become a doctor, like a psychiatric doctor. If you've had a psychiatric break,
Yeah.
like you have to get like, I'm pretty sure that's true. But anyway, yeah, I just, it felt like a scene that was wasting my time. And I will admit, out of everything that happened in the psych ward, it's probably fine. But just like, again, it also like, it felt like it was like showing like, and as much as no one's falling for it and thinking that he's actually in a psych ward, it shows its hand too much when he's like looks at the reflection and it shows his stupid little sandals with the glass in it. I was just like, why bother? What is the point of any of this? It doesn't serve any purpose. And he's just like rambling and yelling over him, and Harrow's just trying to continue talking while he's like, you shot me. He's like drugged up, so he's like, you shot me. You did it. And then he's like stumbling all over the place, and I was just like, I don't care.
That's fair.
Can we move on?
Thanks for hanging out with us. If you like this, tell a friend. If you didn't, then lie to a friend. Check us out on Twitter at SoHowAbout. You can find me on Twitter at SethKumpf. You can find Andrew on Twitter at TessuDownist. And subscribe to us on YouTube at SoHowAbout.
And join us next time when we do this once more with interference.
Watcher. Boop.
Seth, now that the mics are off,
Andrew.
What are we watching next week?
Well, I don't even know why you're asking, because you should know by now.
Nope.
We're going to be watching episode 5 of Moon Knight, called The Psych Ward. I don't have a joke. I don't have a bit. Just put a bit in here for me.
Accessing bits. I'll just use one that I wouldn't use elsewhere.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I save a bunch of things where I'm just like, this is a desperation move. If I need to put an intro, this is what I would
But this isn't
use.
even like an outro. This
But
is
it's not.
like the next time bit.
I know, you just said like put in a bit, so I was just going to like grab one of the... All right, fine, I won't do it.